Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bea. I am a first-time mom of a 4-week-old baby. So that means that I am 4 weeks postpartum, and as you could probably tell from the title of this video, that's going to be what the video is about. It's going to be about postpartum care after a C-section. So whether you've had a C-section or you have one planned or you just want to inform yourself, I hope you find this video useful. And if you do, at the end of this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you like motherhood content. I have baby boy right here next to me because he is a little bit fussy. I think he's gonna want to eat soon, so I'm gonna make this video as quick as possible. Alright, so filming with a newborn, it's not easy, so please bear with me. I have my notes right here so that I can keep things as organized as possible. So as I mentioned, this video is about postpartum care after a C-section, and I feel like there's a lot of great information out there about vaginal birth care, but there's not so much about C-section care and what to expect. So I do want to make it clear that this video is going to be about my personal experience, so not everybody might experience everything just like I did. You might find some things in common, or a lot of things hopefully, or maybe not, because not everything was great, but it's obviously not going to be the same for everybody, so keep that in mind. Ooh, he wants to be a part of the video. So let me give you a little bit of background information about why I had a C-section, because it was an emergency C-section. I went to the hospital to get induced, and I was given something, I don't know what it's called, the thing that they give you to soften your cervix. And the next day they were going to give me oxytocin to kickstart the contractions, make them stronger, and basically start dilating, because I was already having contractions, but maybe not, I guess not strong enough so that I would start dilating. I didn't actually end up needing the oxytocin because at the end of the day, I broke my water. Well, my water broke on its own. I started having really strong contractions, and then I also started dilating. So I was at 3 centimeters dilated, and they gave me the epidural. And after 2 hours of being given the epidural, I was already 10 centimeters dilated, and I was ready to start pushing. So I pushed for over 2 hours, but it wasn't going anywhere. So baby boy's head wouldn't lock in position, so it would come down and go back up, and that was making him stress, and like it wasn't good for him. So it was gonna have to be an emergency C-section, which I personally didn't mind, because I was scared about having issues down there, you know, like I don't know, I feel like it was gonna be more complicated than taking care of the C-section. ¿Qué pasa? Oof. He's not having it. Okay, I'm gonna make this even quicker. I'm just kidding. I had the C-section, and then a few of the symptoms that I experienced. So the first day, I had really bad abdominal pain and really strong cramping, so I couldn't even laugh. Like, it was hard to laugh. Coughing or sneezing was out of the question. I also experienced some trapped gas, so especially my right arm, it hurt a little bit. I don't know how to explain the pain. And basically, when they perform like an operation where they open you up, some gas or like air might be trapped, and it just helps to move around and stuff. Obviously, they didn't allow me to move around until like 7 hours after my C-section, that they allowed me to get up from the bed and like walk and stuff. I was also constipated. It was really hard to go to the bathroom. All right, I'm gonna have to feed him. All right, baby boy's feeding, but we're not gonna let that stop me. So let's keep on. Let me keep explaining what I was explaining, which is the early symptoms on day 1. Basically, I mentioned the abdominal pain and cramping. I mentioned the trapped gas in my right arm. I was also constipated, as I mentioned, and I was actually explaining that I wasn't going to be allowed to leave the hospital until I was able to make a bowel movement. So I also had really swollen feet, so my feet were getting really swollen, and apparently that's pretty common after a C-section. And also what helps is walking around. I would also move my feet in circles up and down to help the blood circulate and like the liquids to flow. Basically, like, it would help the swelling. And then I don't know if I mentioned this, but right after the operation I was a little bit shaky. So apparently shaking, you know, and like being jittery, it's pretty common after a C-section. I wasn't cold at all. My husband was like, "Are you cold? Like, why are you jittering?" And I was like, I don't know. But it wasn't that severe, so I didn't take any medication for that, because they can give you medication. So keep that in mind if you feel like it's too much. And then last but not least, standing up straight. They allowed me to stand up after 7 hours or so of like being in bed. And then finally I stood up without any help. And then walking, I barely needed any help. They just wanted to make sure that I wasn't gonna fall. The only problem was like standing up wasn't the hard part. The hard part was sitting up straight. So basically my legs were not the problem, but the problem was like straightening out my torso. That really hurt, and it would take a while. Like I would have to walk around like hunched over. And that was pretty much on the first day. Those were the main symptoms, and I feel like the worst ones were the cramping and abdominal pain for sure. And then also on day 2 I still had abdominal pain but no cramping, so that was at least good enough. And then my feet were even more swollen. I don't know how that was possible. So I was still constipated on the second day. I managed to make a valve movement that night, on the second day at night. All right, baby boy has finished for now. I feel like he was too quick. I feel like he's gonna ask for more, but he burped already. And just so you get an idea, this might be different for other people, but this is what my belly looked like after a week since I had baby boy. And as you can see, I'm doing everything wrong because I'm wearing like sweatpants. They're a little stretchy, but maybe not enough. There's a saying that goes, "Do as I say, not as I do." So now we're gonna move on into what the hospital gave me, and then also some of the things that I purchased myself that I used for postpartum care. All right, so one thing that the hospital gave me was the mesh underwear. So these I didn't find very useful for me specifically because they were too small. So I would put them on and then immediately they would rip. Like I couldn't even put them on. So I used, that I bought myself, the Always Discreet underwear, or like women's diapers. And they were amazing, honestly. Like they were so comfortable. They were like high-waisted and like stretchy. So like honestly, 10 out of 10. I'm so glad I got those. Also at the hospital, they gave me this like giant pad thing, and it acts like a diaper. So they're meant to be used with the mesh underwear. After a C-section, you still bleed down there since you're emptying out everything, your uterus and all that stuff, all the liquid and blood and all that. So it still gets messy down there. So I use these giant diapers for like the whole stay at the hospital since I was bleeding like quite a lot. Yeah, so at the hospital they also gave me these cotton pads. So it's completely made out of cotton, so they're completely breathable, which is really important, especially if you have stitches down there, because it needs to breathe down there. Also, something that I found really useful at the hospital and that they gave me there are these bed protectors. Like, I don't know what they're called, what the technical term is, but it's like these giant pads that you put on the bed so that you can sit on it, and in case there's some like blood stains, they don't go on the bed, but instead they go on here. But what I mostly found it useful for was changing baby boy at the hospital. Since I would change him on my bed, I would put this over so that the mess wouldn't go on the bed. Instead, it would go on here. So that was honestly a must. And if you go check out my birth blog, which I'm gonna again link up here, you're gonna see baby boy had some major blowouts and it was a mess. I caught some on camera, so it was pretty funny, to be honest, but like you should check it out for yourself. And then also something that's pretty important is this sterile gauze thing, but it's basically like this really breathable material. I think it might be cotton, but it's completely sterile, so that you actually put this over your C-section scar so that you prevent anything from rubbing on it, and it protects it, and it's also breathable. So you need breathable stuff because it needs to dry out. You don't want any humidity staying in your in your scar or like the C-section. They also gave me, which was very much needed, some pain medication at the hospital, which I afterwards bought at the pharmacies to have at home. So it was two certain types of medication, two different types. I would alternate between the two, and it would be every 4 hours. So every 4 hours I would take either one or the other. I'm sure at your hospital you're gonna get pain medication, because like the abdominal pain, it's quite severe, and like it's hard to handle without pain medication. Also, something that was really useful, especially at the hospital and even here at home, is nightgowns. So no pants, so that there's nothing like touching your scar, and it's also more breathable since there's nothing like covering it. And then once I started wearing underwear with these pads, because the Always Discreet underwear or like the women's diapers, I bought 2 packs, so I had 16 total. And once I was out, I had to start using these pads, and I would use it with 100% cotton underwear, like pretty like elasticy, like stretchy cotton underwear that I had. So in terms of taking care of your C-section scar, it's actually pretty simple. You don't need to, you shouldn't lift anything heavy. Try not to bend over basically at all. And then take a shower daily to wash it with soap. You can shower twice or however many times you want. You just want to make sure that you wash it with soap, and that you dry it very well. You pat it, you tap it, or like you basically don't rub it with the towel. You need to be careful when you dry it. It personally didn't hurt me very much. After like the first day, I was actually making way too many efforts. I was bending over, I was lifting heavy things, and it was just not what was recommended. And I had to pay the price. I'm gonna get to it in a second. So the way they did my stitches, it was with like paper, glued paper. I'm gonna post a picture that I found on the internet. And these are gonna fall off in the shower, so you don't need to be picking at them. They're gonna fall on their own. And then there's like a few things that you need to consider. If it's happening to you, you might have to go to the emergency room. So if it starts to smell bad, if it starts secreting any liquid or blood, you need to go to the hospital, because it might be, all of this might be the beginning of an infection, or you might already have an infection. So for me, my scar started like after all the papers were gone, all the stitches were gone, it started to get swollen, and so I had to go to the hospital to get it checked out, and they gave me some antibiotic to avoid infection, because it was not yet infected, but it was about to be. So it was a good call, obviously, to go to the hospital. So also, as a side note, the scar can get really itchy, especially once it starts to dry out. I went to the pharmacy and got a cream that they recommended there at the pharmacy that would help with the itching, and then it would also help the scar to heal. But I started using it right before my scar got swollen, and then the day after or 2 days after I started using this cream, it got swollen. So I was like, I'm not gonna use any of this. I'm just gonna stick to what the doctors are telling me to do, and not include anything else on the care routine. But you know, whatever your doctor says, whatever you feel comfortable doing, you know, just do your thing and just be careful. Other than that, I am done with this video. I think I mentioned everything that I've gone through and everything that I've used. So baby boy is still fitting here, and I'm actually done with this video. So hopefully you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel again if you like this kind of content, and let me know what other videos you would like for me to make. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Say bye bye, poopy diaper.